Do you have my headphones, Lily? Thank you. Now let me see if it's capturing. Alright, good. Rosa entered the room with a tray of pastries and a pot of tea. Her duties were finished and she was allowed a bit of free time. She thought of accompanying Catherine for today's piano lesson. Kath, do you want some tea? The girl didn't look her way. She continued to churn out the bitter, melancholic sound from the piano. Rosa sighed. Her shoulders slumped in defeat. She placed the food on the table. She sat on the stool beside the piano, twiddling her thumbs while her friend continued to stew in her foul mood. Is that a new composition? It sounds nice. Nowadays, they make a new piece every day. It's a shame they're all so sad. Catherine didn't reply to that. When she spoke again, her words were bitter. I saw them again. Those degenerate louts. No shame at all. Calf. Alright. Consenting damn adult and all that. At least had the decency to close the door. Sometimes I dare say that they want to get caught. When I walked in on them this morning, eating each other's faces, they had this look on them, like they were daring me to say something. What? You want my applause? Very nice technique, sire. I very much like the way you swaps your spit with my sister. Great tongue action. See, Marvelou? And he even has a gall to speak to me? Be a dear and put them on the table, Captain, he even said. I am a soft-headed giggle mug of a maid. Wanted me to get annoyed, I just know it. Well, yeah, I am. Then turned to the tea and pastries, stuffing the buttered bread into her mouth. Easy there. These damn things. These damn delicious things. She said the last part angrily, as if she blamed her troubles on the food's relish. Rosa giggled in spite of herself. Captain wiped her mouth in mock anger. What are you laughing at, wench? It's almost comical to watch you eat when you're angry, Calf. You're like the giant monsters that attack defenseless towns in her horror books. Oh, yes? Catherine's made sad, tiny squeals and picked up another piece of bread. No, please spare us. She adjusted her voice and boomed out a roar. Catherine, monster of the deep, doesn't show mercy to anyone. Dropped it in her mouth and chewed savagely. Yum. Annihilation is delicious with tea. Two girls giggled. Catherine's rare smile turned into a rueful laugh. And soon Rosa felt her mood turning somber again. What happened anyway? Aren't you annoyed by it too? Sister has changed ever since she started helping in the chateau. Now it's all gloomy this, gloomy that. As if she wasn't already married. Ugh. Doesn't even care that people are talking behind her back. Calling her a two-timing slut now. I'm tired of running around picking fights with gossipers. She hasn't even visited home for a long time. Father misses her a lot. He always asks about her. Father had worked so hard all these years to give us a comfortable life. Now he is sick. All she cares about is that dastardly Marquis. Rosa shrugged. I am a little bit annoyed, but I guess I've gotten used to it. Their lives are their own, Kath. She didn't dare divulge more than to Catherine, but, but it was partially true. I like Gulmi. He's a nice friend, but I love my sister. If they want to stay together, why not fix this and have at it? But what irritates me to my damn snatch is that the way they are with each other. And recently found the use of explicit endearing in her speech. It was a hope it was a phase. They're beep miserable. Any halfwit can see that. Yes. It took a meal time and again to smarten up. She's hunting a lot of people, including herself. But as if she would listen to her 16-year-old brat of a sister, Even Camille is depressed, I can tell. Remember when he used to come and visit us here to have tea? Or when he used to have picnics in the afternoon? We used to run around chasing rodents in the garden. You ran around. He just watched you get dirty, actually. That is very true, you knitheads. Back then it used to be fun visiting the chateau. Nowadays we barely even see him. He just stays in his bureau all day, brooding. Something that adults subject themselves to, like a torture ritual. I really don't understand why two people who are clearly unhappy keep at it. Rosa did not understand. Rosa did understand. At least some part of her did. She couldn't explain how pain and love worked. All she knew was that it had something to do with an absurd, obsessive amount of hope. She felt Mother tugging at her mind. She loved Mother so much. Living with the Perdis gave her ample comparison to her former life. She had finally accepted that Mother was cruel. And yet, Mother still gave her love and kept her wanting. Was that crazy? Perhaps it was the only love she needed. Perhaps it was what she deserved. Rosa shook the thoughts off her mind and just shrugged. I know you're just worried about your sister, Kath, but they will figure it out. Humans learn. Look at you. All profound and stuff. You read any good books lately? Just a riveting account of the ugly duckling and Baba Black Sheep. Ah, the classics. I don't know how you put up with it though. I hate reading words. In order to write, I have to learn how to read first. I want to write. Why would you want to do a dastardly thing like writing? Would you want to hit some crazy strings until your fingers bleed? The two friends laughed again. I want to remember things. I want to write them down. Most of all, I want to feel the way you do with the piano, Calf. Oh? The way you look when you play, your passion and bliss in musical form. Feels like love, like magic. Inspire me to do something fulfilling and grand. Well, I'm sure you will. Hey, why not write a play one day? Oh? Let's do it. You write an amazing play. I shall provide the music. We'll travel around the country and perform. We'll make lots and lots of money, gain lots of followers. We shall be known as the Perdi Parade Caravan of Wonders. Perdi Parade? Are you sure? Puns are the best. Trust me. That sounds darn bratty, Kathy. Ugh. From this day forward, nobody's allowed to call me Kathy ever again. Sound of a knock interrupted their giggles. Catherine, it's me. I need to discuss something important with you. Frustrated, Catherine pouted at the sound of her sister's voice. She turned back to her piano, began to pound a sarcastically happy tune. Rosa stood up to open the door. Hello, Rosa. Madame? She had seen little of the older Perdee sister recently, and it astounded her how old she had begun to look. Her once radiant face looked tired and haggard, almost crone-like. Under her eyes hung huge bags, and yet she still looked quite dignified, full of pride and pomp. We don't see her. We used to see her, but we don't see her anymore. That's the... I guess it means something? I don't know. There was an extra rouge on her skin, and her demeanor was elegant. It was as if pride was her only source of nourishment these days. Do you mind giving Catherine and me a moment of privacy? Rosa gave a small bow. Of course not, madame. Rosa gathered her nursery books and squeezed Catherine's shoulders before stepping out of the room. Rosa entered the quiet room in the library. She was about to approach the table when she noticed Gumi already accompanying a seat. He was writing something in a book, somewhat immersed in the activity. Rosa stopped dead in her tracks. Just go in and ignore him, child. Why are you so nervous anyway? Just ignore him. He doesn't seem to notice you. Unfortunately, Gumi lifted his head and saw her by the door. Oh, hello, Rosa. Rosa took a step back. Maybe it was best to walk away, as if this were a mistake. Wouldn't that be rude? He had already seen her after all. She had never been alone with him. It was just too awkward. Well, why not just go in? It was going to be fine. They had conversed normally before. Yet, that was because Catherine had been around to disperse her awkwardness. Now I look like an idiot. Gumi watched her pace in front of the door in amusement. Rosa decided to go in. She had already embarrassed herself enough anyway. There was little left to lose. Besides, there was nowhere else to go in this big house. She had already gotten lost in its hallways, much to the annoyance of the Matridi. The library was her favorite place. He stayed quietly in one corner. Rosa was sure they wouldn't bother each other. She took a seat at the farthest corner of the table and opened her book. Oh no, he's actually standing up and walking over? No, you horrible man. Just sit over there. I sit over here. Ogumi was already beside her, peeking at what she was reading. Cold sweat spread on her scalp. Rosa, that book. Rosa began to chatter nervously. I know it's a children's book, sire. I'm teaching myself to read. I know most commoners don't really bother, but I want to learn. So please don't laugh or mark me. Gumi pointed to the book. It is upside down. Rosa stared at it. The ducks in the picture had their feet up in the air. Rosa squirmed, feeling the heat on her cheeks. She couldn't think of anything more embarrassing. I'm sorry. Guzmi's face lost its cheer. What do you need my forgiveness for? Rosa looked up at Gumi. His eyes lacked the gentle glint they usually had. It was such a subtle change, so something felt rather than observed. He thought he would reprehend her further. His face certainly looked like it. Instead, he sat down beside Rosa, drumming his fingers on his cheek while he watched her wordlessly. Well, weren't you going to read? What was wrong with him today? He didn't seem like himself. Had he eaten something bad? The aura he exuded was not his usual friendly warmth. Yet, it wasn't particularly wicked. The look on his face just read slightly and internally miffed. Rosa turned the book upright and read the words out loud. That is the U with a short sound. It is pronounced like this. Umi made this sound, his face still in his lazy stare. Rosa nodded and continued. Her nerves were frazzled, but she was actually at ease in his presence. She felt like a child being taught by the parent. The parent was strict, but still caring. And the child was jumpy, but eager to learn and please. Most of all, he would not hurt her for her mistakes. Rosa was almost sure. There lived, the past tense of live. Why do we change it? It is the rule of grammar that Hammer? Gumi narrowed his eyes at her. Do you even know your alphabet? Rosa shook her head. You should start there. Gumi rose from his chair and disappeared among the shelves. He left behind an old book covered in green felt. This was what he had been writing in earlier. It looked tattered and worn. Pages laid fat on his side so that the book didn't close properly. Rosa reached out to peek at the cover when... You are not to touch that. Rosa's whole body froze at the sound of Gumi's warning. Gumi's stare followed her even as she whispered numerous apologies under her breath. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Gumi just rolled his eyes. You are always seeking forgiveness for everything. Am I? I'm sorry. His hand struck the table in front of Rosa. In the quiet library, the sound rang uncomfortably in her ear. When she looked up, Gumi's face was looming severely above hers. He moved closer to her, his eyes fixed on her intensely. Rosa's mouth hung open. She struggled to say something, but her words were like the burning ends of a matchstick. Before she could compose herself, she felt Gumi's hand lift her chin. Rosa's heart thumped loudly inside her chest. Please, don't, not you too. She felt his breath on her face, and her heart sank into despair. Mother's voice resounded in her head. In the end, they are all the same. He is like everyone else. She shut her eye and prepared herself for the worst, like she always did when. Then, she felt her face being turned from side to side. She opened her eyes to see Gumi studying her face like a textbook. You are a fairly attractive girl. Why do you carry yourself as if it is a slight? He lifted the hair that hid her damaged eye. Rosa clenched her teeth. Is it because you were hurt before? He said it so matter-of-factly, like he was stating the sky was blue. Rosa recoiled from his touch. No, I did that to myself. I wasn't talking about your eye. He placed a book on the table. It was a thin pamphlet filled with letters. There were lines on the book that instructed the user to trace letters with her quill. Rosa wanted to focus on it. She could feel the truth in the Marquis's words stinging her. It was the way you went limp when I touched you. Next time, I advise you to fight back. If you don't want to be touched, then you don't have to be. You understand this? But I am weak. Says who? His eyes were humorless. The world cares not for people who think of themselves as victims, Rosa. If you need power, then be powerful. Have it is necessary to crush things along the way. Rosa flinched under the weight of his stare. She realized that the polite and courteous Gumi was but a facade. It was still him, but it was nothing but an oil portrait, an artwork of his devising. Synthetic, aloof, and irrelevant. It couldn't capture his essence in a few human strokes. Suddenly, Rosa realized he was powerful. Who are you? She caught herself before saying it out loud. You're not Gulmil. And yet, he spoke to her as if he knew what it was like to hurt and to fear. If you don't start acting like your own yourself, then people will not hesitate to take everything. He laid out the rest of the books he had brought out. One was an activity book for children. It had a picture of a child holding an apple with an arrow stuck in it. Another was a book of limericks. Other two were thicker books that imitated her. You would come to know them as Hamlet and Paradise Lost. But the one that caught her eye was an ornately designed book. It had a beautiful red jacket with delicate gold trimmings lining the corners. The gods and goddesses of Roman mythology. This would be her favorite book, her treasure, and she knew it like love at first sight. These books are yours. Take them with you. Read the thin one first. and gradually build your vocabulary with the thicker ones. Rosa ran her heads over the skin of the red book. She opened the cover. Oh, hello, Wopass. What's up? I'm playing a game, a visual novel. It's called Cupid. She opened the cover gingerly, as if carefully unwrapping a present. Thank you. No thanks needed. I simply showed you some books from a portion of the library you were unaware of. You're still so generous, even if you're like this. Like what? That. What? Somewhat irritable? Gumi didn't reply, leaving an awkward silence lingering between them. Then, gave a giant laugh that made Rosa jump out of her skin. I do look damn irritable, don't I? Why? Is it because of Emile? His face just changed. Gumi's eyes drifted away. No. I've always been. He just pointed it out. But you're not usually like this. Especially with Catherine and the townspeople. I find it easy to adapt to people, especially to the ones I like. Gumi looked at Rosa, as if she had just become aware of her presence. Makes me wonder why I'm so stern with you. I'm sorry. Rosa shook her head. I somehow prefer this side of you. Gumi cocked his head to the side, brought out the green book that Rosa noticed earlier. This is called the journal. When you learn to write, start one. Is it? Something you can use to remember yourself when you've forgotten. Does it work? Used to. Nowadays, not anymore. Oh, the act itself is the only thing I remember. Now, start with your vowels. A scream pierced the halls of the chateau. It was Catherine. Remy sprinted to the door with Rosa not far behind. Back in the piano room, Catherine took a shaky step towards her sister. She wasn't moving at all. Blood dotted the ivory keys. I didn't. It was an accident. Emile? She was overcome with the urge to approach her sister and shake her awake. Make sure she was okay, but it was a nasty fall. Emile? Catherine saw the way her sister's head snapped back as it collided with the sharp corner of the piano. She watched it all like a series of photographs in her head. She had to check on her. Her feet refused to move. Instead, she began to retreat into a corner. She didn't even notice her legs were moving until her forehead touched the wall. She didn't want to turn around. Her sister was on the floor. Her eyes were still open, unblinking. What the heck happened? It was an accident. It was nothing but an accident. Was it? She pushed first. She got really scary. She strangled me. What? That's absurd. Are you sure? Would she do that? I don't know. I think she did. Nothing touched her throat. Felt fine. That Perdue girl, Emile, is it? So she choked her or something like that. She really believes she just because the Marquis took her in that he's interested in her? Well, she's obsessed with the master. Apple doesn't fall from the tree. Wasn't her mother a bit, you know, not right in the head? It probably runs in the family. Emile had looked mad. Her eyes had burned with malice for her as she had closed her fingers around Crafton's neck. Yep, she was trying to strangle her. Wow, that was crazy. But she couldn't remember it. But she couldn't remember if that had really happened. Her sister was always kind to her. She would never even ever hurt her, even when they got into fights. Sister loved her. Am I turning mad? I have the blood of a mad woman. Am I going to end up like her? I only told her the truth. Me doesn't care for her, and she doesn't even care for him that much either. It was all just chaff, their relationship. No sense trying to make everyone else miserable too. She called me jealous and a beep. She has never called me a beep. She said they have decided to send me away. My lesson sent home. The piano replaced. It was for my own good, she said. I don't have to travel here all the time. I can concentrate on my other endeavors. I can make new friends. But I know she just doesn't want me near the Chateau of Gumil. He hates it when I catch her with him. Perhaps this morning was the last straw. He hates it, but she also smirks at me when I see them. Like she backs in it. What the heck? I think I might hate her. Catherine's thoughts ran through her head like a storm. She poured out her aimlessly. Or they poured out of her aimlessly. I wonder if the piano is broken. Am I going to pay for it? What would become of us without sister's wages? What of father's medicines? What of my dreams? Sister can't be dead. Sister can't be dead. Catherine brought her fingers to her lips and nibbled on her thumb. She didn't notice this. Mine was preoccupied. She was in her corner of the wall, biting her fingers. It was a tiny comfort in a rapidly collapsing world. Umi opened the door and found Mia lying on the floor. Ugly gash broke the skin of her forehead. Facing the wall was Catherine, shivering like a leaf and viciously devouring one of her fingernails. He approached her cautiously. Catherine. Rosa was out of breath, but still able to let out a gasp at the scene. Emile's lifeless eyes stared up at nothing while Catherine pressed herself into a corner. What had happened after she had left? Rosa, you call for help, please. See that someone checks on Emile. Rosa did as she was told. What she really wanted to do was hug Catherine herself. Emile took a small step towards her, called out her name slowly, coaxingly. Good night. Catherine turned her head, her thumb still on her lower lip. The flesh was torn, and a smudge of scarlet painted her teeth. It was an accident. I swear. Of course it was, Catherine. Of course it was. She pushed me first. She wanted me sent away. She wanted me gone. And tell about it. You can tell me about it later. Let me take you away from this room. What have I done? Catherine fell to her knees and wept. Large sobs sucked the air out of her. Oh wait. Catherine fell to her knees and wept. Large sobs sucked the air out of her. She felt like drowning, trying to keep herself afloat in between sobs. Every exhale was a squeezing pain in her lungs. She felt Gumil's arms wrap around her. What have I done? What have I done? You didn't do anything, ma chérie. This is not your fault. There was a bitter bulge building up in her throat. She felt that no amount of crying could push it back down. What am I going to do? Father is... Sister... I'm so scared. Gumia's arms wound tightened around her, and she clutched onto his warmth in this vast sea of fear. You don't have to be. I will always be by your side. Catherine, I will take care of you and your father, alright? You don't have to worry about your future. Her tears soaked his shirt through, but the squeezing in her chest felt less painful. Why do you do this? Why do you care so much for me? Gumi's brows furrowed, as if confused that she even asked. I just do. It was a boldly stated fact, as if painfully obvious, as if Catherine was a fool for not knowing it. It made Catherine's heart expand in her ribs. When she looked back, she recalled this as the moment she fell in love with him. The look in his eyes was reassuring and strong. She wasn't alone. It's going to be alright. Let's get you away from here. Supported her arms and stood her up, careful to block the view of her sister from her eyes. He led her to the door. Catherine hated how fast her relief came. She was still drenched in sorrow at her sister's death. Her father would not take well to the news, especially in his health. She was alright, and she hated it. Rosa was with her. She didn't have to leave her piano, her dreams, him. Nothing had to change. Most importantly, she hated the voice that came whispering in her head over and over again. Thank goodness she's dead. Thank goodness. Wow, that's a lot of to soak in. The first candle is lit. This candle is storage. A love for familiars. The cleanest love. Rosa stared at the blue candle glowing in her hand as she chanted her spell. Thank you, Junior Romero. What? Rosa stared at the blue candle glowing in her hand as she chanted her spell. Trust is the veil that conceals and deceives. Tricks his eyes and his heart with the warmth from this candle's flame. A bond and blood like kin will be forged. Weave this trust so his tongue will yield to what is sought. Yo, when you free tomorrow, we can play some Fortnite. Rosa stood by Catherine's tomb, nursing memories of her. Soft wind lightly blew her hair. It reminded her of Catherine and her playful ways. Tears sprouted from her eye. Even the wind consoled her. I am always here, my love. Loss will always hurt. But you love Mother the best, don't you? Yes, Mother. Then you are going to be fine. I will never leave you like Catherine did. Rosa. Gumiu's soft voice came from behind. Rosa glanced at him in acknowledgement. He stood quietly beside her for a few moments but ventured to speak. You thought about my offer. My house is always open for you. Remember that. I'm sorry for my outburst back then. It's nothing. The wind played around her feet, and Rosa pictured Catherine as part of the breeze, playful and free. She was free from the pain and confusion that plagued her in her last days. They stood beside each other in solemn reverence. Finally, Rosa broke the silence. She was my family. I was in pain when she came along. I didn't know any better. She gave me hope. She was bright, like a flame. When I close my eyes, I still see the imprint of her light in the darkness. Feel her warmth. Star didn't speak again for some time. Umil cleared his throat. I was an orphan too, much like you. I know what it feels like to lose too much. I wandered for a long time before I found anything to live for. Are you alone? Sometimes. Always. Rosa nodded. Did you have family? Me shifted uncomfortably. No. They, left me behind. I never knew them. Not much of my memory of it is blurred. I was taken in by kind people once before, but Umi signed, and Rosa observed a certain disquiet in him. I didn't belong. But you have no difficulty mingling with people. Think of that as a necessity rather than a preference. But either way, it can be quite tiresome after a while. Things don't last. I don't know why I'm telling you this. You're making the mood worse. I'm sorry. I don't mind. Lumia had never opened up to her about his past before, and it worried Rosa how little she actually knew about him. Anyway, would you like to go around town? I'd very much like to take you someplace more cheery. How about our favorite spot? Mia smiled with understanding. The pair traveled up a hill at the edge of town. There, you overlooked the quaint village. Sunset painted everything in the pink glow of dusk of endings. It's always beautiful, so beautiful here. They used to spend time in this grassy knoll, the three of them. It was their own little hideaway. Memories of the past crept up every corner, ghosts of laughter echoed in the wind. Rosa touched the trunk of the small tree they had carved their names on. So many fond memories. Rosa, I want you to have this. For me, he took Rosa's hands and placed an item in her palm. It was a simple silver locket. She looked at him. She looked up at him, questioningly. I've had that for as long as I can remember. One of my remembrance of the past. I can't take this. You must. You need it more than I do. It's old. The locket doesn't even open anymore. I don't know why. Held onto it for so long. I can't even remember how I came to have it, but it comforts me. Maybe it will have the same effect for you. Is your treasure, Gumia? Feels wrong to take it. On the contrary, I believe you must have it. Call it a hunch or feeling, an urge on my part. I am not good with expressing sorrow or even comfort, but I want to do something, at least for you. Close his hand over hers, affirming the gift. It's yours. Please, take it. You're wrong if you think I'm letting you stay in the castle simply for Captain's sake. I do it of my own accord. Let me do this for you, Rosa. We've been friends for quite a while. If you need to leave, at least stay until you're ready to go. Alright, but I will continue working in your household for my lodging. You don't have to do that and raise your status to a lady. You can read and write now, and very well. I'm sure you will be more comfortable in a higher position. I have no need for a higher position. Just free access to your library. You have come a long way from the shy girl back then, Rosa. Watching you grow has been a pleasure. Yes, the library is yours. They were quiet for a while, only conversing through looks, smiles, and tiny sighs. Rosa realized that she had been holding on to Gumil's hand at the time, all the time. She broke off from his hand, rather embarrassed. Should head back. You're right. It's getting quite late. Me walked over to the carriage to get it ready. Excellent, child. Being a maid in his household will give you free access to the rooms. He trusts you completely. Seems that the counter worked. I guess so. Rosa looked at the silver necklace in her hand. She fiddled with it, trying to open the lock. Open it. Open that locket. I'd like to see what is inside. An object that he owns will make any enchantment more powerful. Rosa fussed with the pendant for a while, but like Umi said, it was stuck. Try again later, mother. Rather curious about it myself. The spell will start its effect in stages, gradually uncovering his true face. Fondness first, then trust. Familiarity. Rosa sighed. But was the spell necessary at all? Didn't she already have that with Gumin? Rosa bit her lip, remembering the warmth of his hand. They had known each other for a long time. It was rather comforting to have someone to mourn with. However, Rosa did find it strange that Gumi rarely, rarely even mentioned Catherine anymore. It was as if she was it was as if he was shedding her off like skin. Again, the taste of blood in her throat resurfaced. The memory of the needles made her stomach lurch. Since her, since her friend had died, the Marquis had been spending all his hours locked in his office. He barely showed himself socially, rarely even attended meals. But they were casting a powerful spell, something that might harm Grumil. What if he was, after all, innocent? She had years of good memories with him. What was she even expecting to find out? Exactly how could she live with the guilt of two dead friends? Aside, she cared for him. Despite all the suspicions, she knew that much. The mother was adamant. 3 candles for 3 loves. A fitting curse for a man who frolics in love's domain. Storage, the love from familiars. Philia, the love for friends. And Eros, the love for lust. Open his heart, storage. Unmask him with Philia. Strike him down with Eros. Rosa kept the 4th candle. One she had named Agape. Unconditional love. But she didn't know whether she would ever use it. Mother, of course, would object. But just in case Eros successfully struck me, she wished to alight Agape. At least give him peace before Rosa walked towards Gumil, a pang of anxiousness biting at her. Rise, my daughter. We're clays ahead. Bring him down, we must find his weakness. Then we attack. Revenge will be sweet, my dear daughter. Do it for mother. Chapter 4, Metamorphosis. I think. The 2nd candle is lit. Its name is Philia. A love for friends. The yellow candle shone and danced with her breath. Let this candle burn until its wick is spent. Encourage friendship. Bring forth memories. Let me walk in his halls without any suspicion. Let me rummage through his belongings invisibly. His journal. He guards his journal fiercely. I must find it. Rosa adjusted her coat as she sat on one of the reserved seats. The theater was packed. The air buzzed with excitement. She hadn't realized this many people would come tonight. Oh, Mother, I wish they would stop staring at me. And why not? This was Madame Catherine Perdit's first solo concerto. Her name had been slowly gathering recognition the past few years. It was feasible to expect a full house. Still, turnout was more than they expected. Paris had taken Rosa and Catherine by surprise. The sheer number of people and their liveliness were well above the usual sights of their small town. Catherine was obviously thrilled with the opportunity to play in such an esteemed venue for her debut. Rosa tried her best to keep her anxiety under control. This was for Catherine. Yes, for her. This was her night. Rosa took a deep breath and released it slowly. It relaxed her. I hope the show. I hope the show starts soon. Rosa's eyes drifted towards the stage and then to the throng of people gathered on her far left. In the middle of the huddle stood a familiar shape of a man. He had his back to her. The posture and the build were unmistakable. That is Gumil. Art made a sudden, gleeful jump. She was delighted that he had made it to Catherine's show. Been traveling extensively recently. What if she had walked over and made sure? Gumil would greet her kindly. He was sure Catherine would be thrilled to know he was here. Rosa pondered for a bit, reminded of a sudden wince of pain. Soon, the master of ceremonies obliged people to take their seats. Me turned around and walked towards her. He stopped midway and took a seat without noticing her presence. Rosa seemed deep in thought. What's wrong, sweetheart? Something bothering you? Nothing, mother. Don't lie to me. I just didn't expect to see him here, that's all. Oh, I see. It is the same problem, isn't it? Are you worried about Catherine now that he's here? That filthy man again. I'm sure Catherine will be pleased. Whatever will she think now that her lover is back? She would rather spend all her time with him as usual. My poor darling, always running after her star. Wonder how long till she is tired of you constantly tagging along. Brag to me that you share everything like sisters. Does that include good meal too? Oh, you're making your life so complicated, darling. Why do you even bother yourself with these people? It is obvious she will abandon you. It is obvious he is never going to look at you. It is obvious he is never going to look at you. You like being so miserable? It saddens me to see you like this. His eyes only for Catherine. She always imposed your presence like a little dog. It's not like that, mother. We're friends. Friends? Darling, friendship is nothing but a shallow kind of relationship. People change, friends as easily as the weather. You don't even remember the friends you make at a certain age. Friendships do not last. Listen to mother. Friendships do not last. You always love so much. You give all of yourself. I just don't want you to get hurt. You're not worth the love you give them. My dear, every relationship is centered around need. They need you now. Soon, they will abandon you too. Rosa's tongue felt bitter in her mouth. It was filled with annoyance for her mother. It wasn't a happiness as fleeting as friendship, yet not any less real than sadness. These friends, these were people who accepted her. They shared laughter and tears, their own regrets and dreams. But more was needed. Rosa's confused feelings began to arrange themselves neatly in her mind. Emil and Catherine's happiness was important to her. Was the main thing. She knew they felt the same way for her. Her insecurities were real, but they were insignificant. If anything, they were bittersweet. She had no regrets. For the first time in her life, she wanted to talk back to mother. She bit her lip, belling the nerves as she opened her mouth to speak. I know that. What? I know that Catherine matters more to him than I do. I know they might abandon me one day for whatever reason. Might be today, or next year, or even sooner. But that doesn't matter in the long run. I am happy with them. We've had years together that I'll treasure. Like I treasure memories of you too, mother. The memories of you keep me sustained. That is why I love you. The years we spent together, no matter how fleeting, are still worth something. Let me care for them right now. Everything changes. Nothing is lost. Rosa was sure she had read it somewhere. Rosa waited for her mother to answer with a vicious voice, to burst out screaming at her cheekiness. But no voices came. Rosa smiled to herself. The lights dimmed. A low hush descended on the pews. Soon, Catherine entered, clad in the loveliest gowns and an even lovelier smile. She was beautiful. She belonged on the stage. Light shone on her. They paled in comparison to her radiance. Catherine bowed to the audience and took a seat in front of the piano. She began to play. Rosa gripped the handle of her seat, felt surges of emotion with every note, kind of energy passing through her, touching her skin, making her break into goosebumps. Oh, Catherine. Rosa hadn't known of such an effect before this moment. Music that could so strike the heart as if it was fiddling with the soul. It was different from practice, different from when she was performing in front of smaller groups. This was a stage, and here was a woman with strings. She was tugging the right keys, touching your heart, and electrifying your soul. Rosa realized she wasn't alone in this feeling. The whole room was mesmerized. She looked at the lady beside her seat. She had her hand to her open mouth. Teardrop dangled precariously on her eye. The man to her left seemed to have forgotten to blink. Rosa beamed and savored a rush of kinship with them. They were experiencing the same emotions with her. It made her love them just a little bit. Rosa closed her eyes and savored the night. Bead of sweat fell from Catherine's chin. She was out of her body now. Her stress from the beginning of the show had thawed and turned into passion. It ran down her fingers to the keys. It did not escape Catherine's notice that most people in the crowd came to the show to gawk at her. Catherine Perdee, the one that the infamous Marquis de Gaulle had been courting for years? Didn't he pay for this event? Lucky broad. Catherine Perdee. I heard she was some pianist. Any good? Who knows? Must be. If even that Marquis is chasing her. Catherine Perdee. Some female pianist. Pretty face. Nice flesh on her. Let us watch her show. Fingers caressed the keys, playing them with the force of her heart. Did she play to prove them wrong? Her music saturated the theater with her fervor. No, not to prove them wrong. You said it right. Captain Perdee is my name. I am more than just a pretty face. I am playing this piece for you. It is my gift. Let me touch your soul. Rosa felt her eye get moist. This was Catherine's heart, inscribed into music. All energy and beauty with the strength of the wind. The mischief of a sudden gale that whips at ladies' skirts and tips gentlemen's hats. The cold breeze that carried the loneliness of the coming winter. Everyone in the audience felt it. Rosa searched for Gumi's face in the darkness. She couldn't see him clearly. It didn't matter. She knew what he was feeling. She felt it too. Rosa's heart began to ache. It was a string she didn't know how to name. After the show, Rosa greeted Catherine in her backstage dressing room. She was smothered in flowers from the audience. Sweat glistened on her forehead. Catherine gave her a tight hug. Congratulations, Kath. You were marvelous on stage. Thank you, Rosie. Catherine covered her cheeks with her hands. I'm so shaky. The excitement from the stage hasn't left. On my hands. Oh dear. So I will call this show a success, yes? Pour the champagne, Sherry. It's a night to remember. Catherine and Rosa hugged again. Let me just finish up here, Rosa. Then celebrate properly. Two young, ravishing ladies sampling the best of what Paris has to offer. I like it. Rosa laughed. Just don't let go of my hand. You might get lost being so starry-eyed. Just teasing, but smiling brightly all the same. I would never. Anyway, I'll meet you outside in a few minutes. Very well. I'll see you later. Rosa was thankful to leave the backstage area. She had almost forgotten her anxiety during the show, but the backstage was an ill reminder of the crowd. She looked forward to the night ahead, wondering vaguely why she hadn't mentioned Glumi's presence to Kath. She shrugged it off. It simply slipped her mind, that was all. Catherine went back to her dressing room, humming as she was about to grab her coat. She wasn't the least bit tired. Visions of city, exploring new sights, and gaining experiences made her giddy with excitement. Will end the night on the best note, she was sure. A small knock interrupted her thoughts. Who's there? Me turned around, and the cheerful smile froze on her face. The Marquise peeked from the open door and stepped inside. Hello, Caft. Tingling passed through Catherine's neck. Although she was aware he had returned, this was the first time she'd seen him in 2 years. After she rebuked his intentions of wooing her. Wait, what? He was trying to woo her? Catherine shook her head at the memory. They grew up together. It's normal to develop feelings for someone you share most of your life with, was it not? Catherine had promised herself not to dabble with the Marquis. With all the rumors and the past flings, felt like she knew too much. Too complicated, she had reasoned. The rumors were still alive in some circles. But hadn't Gomil come clean with his romantic escapades? Hadn't he vowed to be faithful since he had made his intentions clear? To believe. Perhaps it was possible that Catherine pushed away the intuition of the last thought and rearranged her face into a merry smile. He curtsied. My lord Marquise, thank you for coming. That last bit came out too loud in her ears. Felt like her voice was compensating. Pressed a groan. We found the show satisfactory. Satisfactory. My lord Marquis? What happened to Gilly, monster? At once the memories flooded her mind. That used to be her greeting every time she had visited him back then. She screamed when she saw him, right before she flung her arms around his neck. Catherine didn't know what to do, turning her hands. The hands that had never betrayed her felt like they belonged to someone else. She cleared her throat and felt a smile harden on her face. Pardon my past slight, sire. I was a bit of a prerequisite child. Prerequisite, blah. After all, I must give my due respects to the sponsor of this event. Thank you, by the way. You didn't have to be so extravagant. Was it in your dream to play in Paris, Calf? I thought your debut would be the perfect opportunity to fulfill that dream. Marquis stepped into her quarters and closed the door. Catherine flinched, afraid that the small room would draw them even closer. Just the effect that he wanted, probably. Sly fox. Pondered for a bit, contented herself in fuzzing the flowers on the table. She should chase him out. Why wasn't she chasing him out? Merdy, Catherine. I didn't think you'd be attending tonight, sire. Weren't you traveling? Yes, I was. But I wouldn't miss your concerto for the whole of France. Me stepped forward, and it seems, my investments were well placed. Me drew closer to Catherine, so near that she could smell the mint in his breath. He appeared to reach out to her face, but changed direction at the last minute. Oh, oh, these flowers are from the Duke. How pretty. He examined the card, dangling a hair away from Catherine's ears, trying to look fascinated by the piece of decorative paper. And he stepped back, grinning like an idiot. He really has great taste. Wherever did you learn that, muckhead? If he thought that kind of ploy would make her swoon, then he was dead wrong. In fact, All he made her want to do was wipe that stupid grin off his face, the backside of the vase. Yes, he does, doesn't he? She gritted her teeth, unable to take the acidic edge off her voice. It wouldn't be so hard. All she had to do was grab the neck of the expensive vase, fling it at his head. He wasn't sure if the vase would break. Maybe not. Maybe. Need to hit him again for the full effect. Captain, did you hear what I just said? Hmm? I said now that I'm back in town, would you consider playing for me again? It's part of our original arrangement, after all. She felt the tendons in her neck tighten. I have a full schedule this week, sire, but I'll let you know when I'm free. Oh, sire, I must retire for the night. I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted from my performance, after all. Excuse me. Catherine turned around and went for a coat, but she felt Gumi grab her hand. Wait, they stared at each other for a couple of seconds. Gumi looked like he was about to say something. His mouth opened and closed, as if debating the correct words in his head. He just dropped Catherine's hand a moment later. I'm sorry. You're right. You must be tired. His shoulders dropped. Catherine felt a ting of disappointment. She ignored it quickly. Umi let out a sigh. You know, I'm not good at this, Catherine. Oh, do I know? You seem to do just fine. You have an amazing track record. Huh? Then folded her arms over her chest with a pout. Oh, that. That is just because of my face. What? Most people think I'm very deep and thoughtful when I stare at them like this. Wait, what? I just run with it. Catherine bit her lip to prevent the chuckle from escaping, but the laughter burst out from her. He hadn't changed at all. Before she could stop herself, a mischievous smile appeared on her lips. No, no. Actually, it is your inability to make big gestures, Gilly. Hmm? Well, look at you. Copied his tight, alert posture. You stand so stiff as a board. I guess it fools people into believing you are a graceful, dashing soul. Me made a pout. I am dashing, though. Maybe. Oh, contre monsieur. I did have the misfortune of being victim to your dancing. Must you always bring that up? A long time ago. He looked so distracted that Catherine couldn't help but tease him further. I mourned the death of my little toe, sire. I like that toe. It was a traumatic experience. For long they were laughing, like it was the most natural thing in the world. It didn't change. It hadn't always been like this. Catherine settled back into her own skin, mulling the confusion in her veins. Beth. She looked up at him. Own emotion stung her. Can't keep running away from me. Sighed deeply. Her hands tightened around her resolve for lack of a solid thing to hold on to. Perhaps not, but I have already given you an answer. I am aware. I have tried to accept it. Please don't take offense. But I thought it would be easy. I left to clear my head, to fill my mind with other things. What? You thought it would be easy to get Catherine? Get out of here. Traveling usually does the trick. For a while, at least I thought I was successful. Even during my trip, I would catch myself thinking such absurd things like, I wonder what Kath would say when she sees that. No, I don't think Catherine will like this too much. Hmm. Well, Kath used to say. It was funny. Also a little infuriating to know that you have never left my mind. So I wish I knew how to do this. I am, sighed, I am too used to people leaving me. I do not know how to quit on my own. Does bother you, the amount of lovers I had in the past? I am sorry for that. I almost wish I really was that adept. Like I have told you, most were simply rumors. The rest were people realizing I am not as interesting as they had initially thought. For me, never stay long, calf. One could say I'm amazing with first impressions. There's a naggy feeling that's all I'm ever good for. Sort of exotic trophy like to collect for sake, put aside when its novelty expires. I can't blame them. Right now I am quite sure I am what is wrong. I must be better at letting people go. You, please don't make me let go. See through, calf, in your eyes, like I'm somebody worth loving. Any wonder I'd like to continue thinking of you fondly. Old habits die hard, I suppose. Catherine bit her lip. Those are impressive words, sire. Do you have a point? My point? It's simple, really. I I don't think I'll be able to stop my feelings for you. You may re you may reject me as many times as you wish. It will not change. I've already come to the conclusion that I don't mind. He shrugged. So I propose that you either get used to me chasing you, or you give in to my dashing, mashing charms. Catherine chuckled despite herself. Or I could just kill you with the Duke's fashionable face. Please do not give my superior the pleasure. I would rather you rip my heart out of my chest and offer it as a dark sacrifice to the gods. Gory. Very poetic. Dashing points for you. You think so? I've been reading a lot of romance novels lately. What kind of romance novels are you even talking about? I figured I must learn to be more suave to make the lady of my dreams swoon. Still working. Catherine laughed. Hardly. I believe this is how they do it in the big finale. Umi cleared his throat and knelt down on one knee. He took Catherine's hand awkwardly, trying to act as natural as he could. His serious face made Catherine burst out laughing. Wait, wasn't he... Fully? What in the world are you doing, idiot? Stop laughing, madame. I must try this at least once. So I'm simply concerned for an older gentleman and his knee. You'll be able to stand up from that posture later, given your obvious grace. Umi chuckled. Terrible. How dare you call me an old man? I don't look my age, you know. Sure, sure. Oh, stop laughing, will you? I'm trying to concentrate. Cleared his throat again. Will Mademoiselle Captain Purdy allow me an audience tonight? As such, perhaps she might allow me to stay by her side for a while longer. It will make me a very happy man. It was sappy and ridiculous, and yet hearing the words did stir Catherine's heart. They were giggling like fools now, like children, her heart heavy with love for him. Love? Did she just think love? Of course she did. She had always loved him. Why was she fighting her feelings again? Reason seemed unclear all of a sudden. Alright, sire. Your gallantry has convinced this lady to accept your offer for tonight. What about Rosa, man? I mean, girl. She bowed with an exaggerated curtsy. Gumi took her hand, theatrically, as he stood up. This gentleman is relieved he didn't have to sing. Few rules for tonight. As we are in Paris, you must be on your best behavior. No embarrassing jokes like making friends with the street mimes. Agreed. As such, I must retire by 8. Done. 8. 9:30. 9. Take it or leave it. Gumi grumbled, but Catherine just chuckled at his frustration. 9:15 it is. Sorry, I meant 9 sharp. Gumi's face brightened like a little boy's. Oh, I know where we can go. This is a quaint little piazza just south of here. We have a breathtaking view of the city. They're on a hill, you see. I know the owner personally, but we've already guaranteed the best seats. They serve the best pomme de terre guarantee. Then tea again? If you continue eating that every opportunity you get, soon there will be no potatoes left in all of France. Catherine sighed. Why must he be so... This better not be a game like all your other things, sire. I deserve to be treated like more than a prize. Catherine watched Gumi's face beam as he talked about that little house on the hill. How when the weather was perfect, the stars would soak the sky. She giggled to herself with fondness. What adult. At night in Paris, and he would rather eat cheese potatoes. It was just like him to pick the stars instead of the city, wasn't it? It pleased her to know that she adored this side of him others did not see. But was this the real him? Did she really see through him like he said? Or was this face he put on her for her sake, like most flirts could? If it was, then she'd been watching this face since she was a little girl. From awe to admiration, from friends to lovers. They had seen the best and worst of each other through the years. Surely there was something to that. Surely it couldn't all be a lie. Right? Sorry, I got carried away. Shall we go? Yes. Catherine grabbed her coat and Gumi took her purse. Oh, I almost forgot. Rosa is waiting outside. Then let us hurry and meet up with her. I haven't seen her for a long time. Miss her too. It'll be a treat to spend the evening with two esteemed ladies. We're thrilled to see you. Just like the old times, us three. Yes. She slipped her hand on his arm nonchalantly. Caught Gumi smile to himself. At the very least, let that smile be real. And that is where we stop for now. Stay. Right here. Yes. What? I don't get what's going on, but you know, leave a like and a comment down below, and I'll continue probably again tomorrow. I don't know when, but tomorrow. Thanks for anybody who stopped by to watch me play Cupid, a visual novel. See you guys next time. Yeah, guys.